Welcome back to Cocktails and Classics as we make our way through Band of Brothers. We're now on episode 8. Time is running out. It's dwindling. There's only 3 episodes left, including this one. So, go back and listen. Catch up. If you're not watching, go watch it. What are you doing? It's one of the greatest television shows of all time. What is it? Number 4, I think?
Back home, the war is over, but here we've still got 2 more episodes to go.
People are looking for movies. They're bringing pictures back, and we're still fighting the good fight over here, watching Band of Brothers. So you guys,
you can't get a hotel in Miami Beach, but you know where you can find room? On your couch with an episode of Band of Brothers.
Go watch it. Listen to the podcast, guys. It's almost over. I'm Dylan. Joining me as always is Ben, and this is episode 8, The Last Patrol. Made our way out of Bastogne, and we are now into France.
No, didn't we start in France? Normandy is France.
Sure.
We went, what, France?
No,
England,
it is a French town. The French
Holland,
town of Haguenau.
Belgium? So we're just back in France.
Well,
okay.
Yeah, it's probably like the other part of France, like I don't know. Look up a map or something, Ben.
Over the
fucking
moon part.
Ignorant American.
Geography is... Look, there's 2 things I'm not good with, all right? Geography and astronomy. And that's because astronomy is just geography in space. I don't fuck with either of those things. All right? I don't do it.
All right, so I assume all right, there's Dunkirk.
And quickly, before people jump all over my ass, I don't know much about American geography either. It's not like I only know the U.S. I barely know that. All right? Calm down. Settle in. It's not my strong suit.
Yeah, they basically went through France. They were in the Netherlands, obviously, with like Eindhoven. And then they were in Belgium, right, for Bastogne. So they've basically just kind of been up and down the German like border. And then Haguenau is like all the way in the corner of like France, kind of where like France goes into Germany here, over near Strasbourg and Stuttgart.
Oh, I'm looking at it because I just found, guys, we got to open up a GoFundMe. We need to raise about $33,000. Or, you know what? Just 16. Maybe just 16. 16K. Dylan and I can go on a double occupancy trip and do the Band of Brothers tour.
Oh.
That's right.
Oh.
That's right. We go into London, Aldbourne, Portsmouth. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. You get in across to Normandy, fly over into Eindhoven, Arnhem, fly down, you hit Bastogne, Ardennes, then you go to Haguenau, and then you get into the rest of the things I'm not going to talk about, although we all kind of know where it's going, because I think they talk about it at the end of this episode. Do they not?
Yeah, I think, no, well, they go...
Do they not say that they're going into Germany?
No.
I could have sworn
No,
that
they're pulling back at the end of the episode.
I'm pretty sure literally during like the little end credit write-up thing, they talk about that they're going into Germany.
Oh, well, I mean, obviously, yes, they're going into Germany soon, but like at the end of physically at the end of the episode, they're getting pulled back.
Okay, look, I'm just saying that obviously by the end of the series, they will be going into Germany.
Does that not seem a little perverse to you, though? Like a tourism market for like following the Band of Brothers.
I mean, to be fair, it's the National World War II Museum trip.
Okay, all right,
that does it. So like,
all right.
I mean, I feel like that kind of makes it okay.
It's
probably literally something that also probably just gives back to veterans, but I'll be honest, I wanted, if I ever went to Europe, I would want to go to Normandy. That I would want to go see some of the key World War II event like locales.
Like my grandfather and my uncle went and did that, and like it makes sense because like he fought in the war, like he's kind of going back. I feel like for veterans to do that kind of makes sense. Obviously, as a as an American, like you hear about all these things, like it is interesting to see. But to me, it is a little weird to like follow the entire trail and then be like, oh, like I don't know. I also like. I mean, here in America, we've only had like one war fought here, so to me, sometimes it is a little weird to go be
And
like, oh, this is a Civil
and
War
and
battlefield.
how big of a tourist destination is
Well,
Gettysburg?
Gettysburg, but like in Atlanta, you have like Kennesaw and stuff, so it's like you have like Kennesaw Mountain. I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna go walk the mountain trails. I don't really care about the battlefield. Sorry, Civil War, but like,
Well, yeah, but that's the thing is it's not like there's like some gigantic historic that like people in Europe don't give a shit that that the Civil War where the Civil War
well, they
happened.
weren't involved.
They're not
Everyone was
interested.
involved in the World War.
Well, yeah, but let's be honest. People in England and the UK are not coming over to be like, "Oh, let's go check out Battery Park. Oh, let's go check it out. This is where the US Revolutionary War happened." And you know why? They don't want to revisit the sites where they got their ass kicked. USA, USA, USA.
UK
That's
listenership.
why we go. We go over there to be like, "Wow, look at what happened here when our soldiers came over and kicked ass." USA, USA, USA.
I was reading something. Oh, I think it was this. So I was reading a review of the.
I love how that got no response, just completely died down, and then just like. So I was reading
I was
something.
reading this
Oh, all
review
right.
of the Band of Brothers book the other day, and he talks about how he hated the book. He's basically like, I love the content, but Stephen Ambrose is a shitty writer, and like half of the book is literally just utilizing David Webster, who is comes back in this episode, using a lot of his writings because he was a Harvard educated person. He was a writer and he kept notes and wrote to his mom and dad the whole time. So we have like his logs, and that's what the book utilizes fairly often. But then he talks about how like Ambrose kind of has this like heroic, like godlike vision, I guess, of Easy Company, and like talks about how America kind of is like, yeah, we came in and saved the day after everyone had been fighting for like 4 years and the Germans were doing really well until America showed up. Like they were just had a shit ton more casualties and and like basically that like we kind of are like yeah, back to back World War champs and all that, but then it's like, yeah, we also showed up late to the party, you know, like we were the people booting rallying and everyone else was.
Yeah, okay. So we were late to actually put boots on the ground, but let's be honest, we were supplying we were supplying weapons for quite a while. But you know what? And that's because they they made the fuck up. They fucked up. You gotta think about it. If you're Germany too, probably pretty pissed at Japan for the whole situation, right?
Yeah, I mean,
Like you gotta think like in Hitler's like final days, he's like, if the Japanese just left America alone, we'd probably win this thing. They really fucked me. They pissed the Americans off, and then because the Americans were like, all right, we're going to war. We're going to war. I was like, okay. But we split going. We didn't just send everyone to Japan. No. Nope. We split it. We're gonna send people over. We're gonna send people over to Europe too. And Hitler's probably like, if they never get attacked and provoked, by the time, realistically, by the time U.S., for lack of a better term, gets off our ass and gets involved in this, it's probably too late to do much.
yeah.
So, yeah. No, I mean, we were late to the party, but yeah, we also did kick ass.
All that to say, Band of Brothers episode 8.
Woo! Feeling so patriotic right now.
So in episode 8 of Band of Brothers, we are reintroduced sort of to David Webster, who, like I said in the book, plays an important part of like doing a lot of writing, speaking from his point of view, and being very eloquent about the whole situation, kind of giving that soldier's perspective on things, because he's one of the ones I believe that talks about how you kind of like disassociate from the deaths of your comrades and you don't really have time to like process it and all this. But in this episode, Webster returns to the battlefield after being injured in Holland, and he doesn't get the warmest welcome. Everyone is kind of pissed off at him that he didn't just kind of go AWOL from the hospital, because Toy did it, Garnier did it, Popeye did it. They kind of resent him because, and he talks about it. He's like, I dropped into D-Day, like I was there at Normandy, but I wasn't there for Market Garden, and I wasn't there for Bastogne. So these guys just kind of don't like me, and so he's supposed to join back with the first battalion, and then ends up getting put into the second battalion with like everyone who's kind of just like hardened and like over it. I feel like at this point, I mean, they're all kind of over it. Just watching the dudes like nonchalantly walk around while there's like artillery and gunfire going off, and I'm just like, okay, we don't really care. I feel like at this point.
Yeah, I'll be honest, and I was trying to remember from where like that we saw him, because I thought we'd seen him before, but then I was sitting back and I'm like, I cannot remember Webster.
I feel like it's a Roe situation where he's like in the episodes, but we're not necessarily like introduced to him. Because that was like Roe was the same thing to me, where it was like, where's he been this whole time? And then I look and he's in every episode, and I was like, all right. I mean, I guess he's just there. Like, I mean, now
Yeah.
I feel like he gets called a lot more. Like, maybe it's just because I know him. But like, yeah, like this episode, they're like, "Where's Roe? Where's Roe?" And I'm like, "Hey, there he is."
So just looking at Webster and his kind of bio here. So he was wounded during Overlord. He returned for duty during Market Garden. Uh, he was actually technically there for what was like the episode for Crossroads.
That where he was injured. He was injured at Crossroads.
That's
Uh,
yeah. He was so he was there up until Crossroads, where he was shot in the leg from machine gun fire and was evacuated. I'm not wondering if his like I'm guessing too, especially due to the fact that he said he had to go through PT in that. I'm guessing his like wound was much worse than some of the other guys.
yeah. I mean, what's his face?
Cause
Perconti
like
comes back and he's still kind of like hunched over and limping.
yeah, but like I mean, some of those guys like they got shot in the ass and it was like they were kind of fine.
Yeah, you just can't sit
Like
down.
depending if you were hit multiple times with a like by a machine gun, like you got to think, especially you look at like athletes, right? 10 years ago, an ACL injury, like an athlete was done for and they might not walk right. Well, imagine if you got shot in the knee with a fucking machine gun. You basically have to relearn how to walk.
Yeah, it does sound like, so in the book it did sound like he, like, this unwarm welcome didn't really happen. Like he just came back to First Battalion, and maybe it did happen. They just don't talk about it in the book. But I feel like some of this episode is like fictionalized in that sense, just to have more story.
This, I mean, this does say that he did write he did actually write that he was glad to be back among his friends, but he did feel initially ostracized and regarded as a replacement because he wasn't there at Bastogne.
This episode takes a little bit of a dip in the rating, um, which we had we've kind of looked ahead and seen, because last episode was the second highest rating. The next episode is the highest rated episode of the whole series, and then this one kind of dips down to being the second lowest. um, and it I don't necessarily. I mean, okay, second lowest is still an 8.7, but I'm okay with a little lull. This episode still has action, stuff still happens, but you can't have every episode just be action packed, intense, no break, because that never happens in a television show. If you watched 10 episodes of just nonstop action, if every episode of a television show was like Mad Max Fury Road, it'd be exhausting. You got to have a second to breathe sometimes.
Yeah, I also think episodes like this are important to, especially with last episode with losing so many characters and well, I want to rephrase that. Losing so many soldiers from the company. I don't want to just put them in the basket of characters because these are real people and these things really happen to them, but you lose those the people that you've kind of gotten a connection with throughout the past, I don't know, 6 episodes realistically. So now you've kind of got to focus on a couple other characters and bring a couple more people up, and you can't do that if you're in the middle of a battle every single episode.
Yeah.
You really kind of need to take the time when you have episodes like these to really kind of introduce you to, reintroduce you to Webster. This episode you meet Lieutenant Jones.
Yeah, Jones, and then Jackson was newer, the guy who gets hit by the grenade.
Yeah,
But
and then Leaguebot, who's been here the entire time, but I feel like he hasn't really been in a ton. But this is an episode that kind of gives him it's not him centric, but it is kind of, you get a little bit more of his character, and him kind of interacting with the guys. So
I feel like, to me, the Webster and Jones trying to get people out of the mission storyline was a little odd. It was a way to win people back over, I guess, or I don't know. It just
Jones, it didn't make sense to me. I think it was Webster's plan, and he just played Jones like a fiddle to get what he wanted.
I guess. I mean, Jones, I feel just wanted to get into the bat.
He wanted to go because he wanted battlefield experience. I think he wanted to be able to say, I did this thing in World War II, and that way, when he got home, and he would look great for his political career in about 40 years. I think, though, for sure that Webster's plan was, hey, maybe I take this off Malarkey's plate, and if the guys somehow find out I was responsible for it, then, maybe they'll kind of remember that I'm one of you guys. I'm not just some new guy who skipped out or just showed up. I've been here too. Because I especially think that's why he pulled the trigger when he went up and he's like, hey, you said we needed 15 people. We've got 16. If we only need one translator, I don't think Leaguebot needs to go. I think that was because I think even Leaguebot acknowledged that and was like, all right, this guy's all right.
Yeah, because I mean, everyone was kind of I don't really want to do this patrol. And maybe that's talking to the point at the beginning of the episode where everyone is kind of at a certain point, you get the feeling that I might make it out of here, and you start to tread a little lighter and think about like decisions before you make them to like you might survive. And so I feel like that's part of the thing. Even though everyone is like so nonchalant about like all this gunfire and stuff, like I feel like any chance they can get to not go on this patrol is like, hey, this is a good shot for me to not have to do this. I love Tom Hanks's son, the executive producer's son, being in the show. Little nepotism maybe.
Yeah, I like Colin
I don't
Hanks.
hate him.
I
He's
think
he's
he
good,
does good
but
in most things. He's definitely a 100% just a pure nepo baby, but like, at the same time,
there's nothing wrong with nepo babies.
and he was never forced down our throats. You look at his acting career, and in all honesty, for being a nepo baby, he was not pushed the way nepo kids are now.
Hey, I mean, look,
Like,
nothing wrong with that. I've been seeing a lot of stuff from like I don't know all the publications like Variety, Hollywood Reporter, all those of like uh, Emma Roberts has a movie that just came out, and so she's like said a bunch of shit that's like, well, no one says anything about George Clooney being a nepo baby and blah blah blah, and it's like, okay, the thing about it is, all you have to do, Jack Quaid did it perfectly. All you have to do is acknowledge, oh yeah, I got my foot in the door because my parents are famous. And that's it. And then your career just speaks for itself after that. Like, it, if you make shit movies
yeah,
and you keep getting movies, but your
what
parents are famous, like,
Wyatt Wyatt Russell. I feel like people are like, oh yeah. Now that you say it, he does look like his dad. Yeah, that makes sense. But at the same time, no one's like, oh god, this guy fucking force. And that's the thing. Yeah, I'm sorry, but you've been forced down our throats for however long, and you keep doing projects that, let's be honest, 9 out of 10 actors would not get another leading role.
yeah,
Especially because some nepo babies, uh, who we may or may not have just been discussing, have a reputation for not being easy to work with, and yet they keep getting work.
yeah, yeah.
Come on now. Come on now. Yeah, I don't think there's anything. Let's be honest. It's been a not what you know, but who you know world for a long frickin' time, and not just in Hollywood.
Yeah.
It's been that way in every industry since the dawn of the economy. That's the way life works. That's fine. Just acknowledge it and move on.
Let's get Ben Stiller's take on the whole thing. What is he? What do you think Ben Stiller's got to say on this point?
I don't know. But you know what? I bet you it's probably a good take. Ben Stiller seems like a good dude.
I hope it's just the shittiest take after you said that. He's like, my
Hey,
dad was just on
hey.
Seinfeld. It's not like he did anything good. I really had to grunt. No.
My dad, who had a long, historic comedic acting career for years, was really only famous for doing one thing as a as more of an elderly man in the 90s. Oh, no.
Yeah, it was interesting seeing everyone kind of like just disheveled. And they acknowledge it though too. Like Malarkey, for instance, where they were trying to get him off the case, and they're like, "Yeah, dude, he just had his like 4 best friends gone. Like, he needs a break. He's not an officer, and he's a leading second platoon right now. Like, we let's do something for him, you know."
Well, that's yeah. I mean, literally when they go up to Winters and they're like, I don't think you should do like I think you should send Jones. Don't send Malarkey. And Winters is like, yeah, Malarkey needs a. Have you seen him? Like he needs a break. Well, and then even like when they're taking the shower, even as Malarkey's taking the shower, he just looks defeated.
Yeah, he's like staring off in the distance.
he looks like he's hit his breaking point, and his coping mechanism is he's just shut down. Like he's just not in like a physical way, but just like mentally, he's just kind of checked out. Like he's just a robot.
You have Cobb, who is like just becoming an alcoholic, being an asshole the whole time. College
Yeah.
boy. All right.
Ooh, college. What are you looking at, college boy?
Damn, you got me.
Oh shit. I'm so burned. Oh yeah? Well, how come you didn't sneak away like Garnier or Toy or Papa? Popeye found us. All right, dude. Do you remember when Garnier left and then rejoined the unit? They were in pretty much the same fucking place.
Yeah.
If you go back to that map and see where Webster, according to the show, left the unit to where he rejoined the unit, you can't just thumb up down the side of the road.
It's in a completely
Hey,
different country.
you guys heading to the complete other side of the fucking country? No? Oh, I guess I'll keep walking then. I'll be there in about 8 years.
The other thing this episode does is we get. I feel like there's just like a lot of like small, minute detail exposition that happens. Like Lipton gets his field promotion.
And discharge.
Well, you got to get the discharge to get the promotion.
Oh, I'm thinking of a battlefield commendation. Sorry. I was thinking of the like when he got nominated for the battlefield
Yeah.
like
Well,
promotion, like the
that's what he
commendation
gets.
to get
So he
promoted.
gets discharged from like his service to then become an officer or whatever to get the battlefield promotion.
I I thought he was going home.
No,
Oh,
no, I think they basically just like discharge you from your infantry or whatever. Like I don't know what it's called before, and then you get the battlefield promotion to become an officer. Is how I believe it happens.
all right. Yeah, I guess he was just. That's just weird. Thought he. I didn't realize that that's how they phrase that. I don't know. To me, I hear discharge, and that means you're going home. Not discharge. That means here you get a new rank, and then saddle up. We leave tomorrow.
So yeah, basically, yeah, he got a commission, a battlefield commission is what it's called. And it basically grants an enlisted soldier a battlefield promotion to the rank of commissioned officer. Because normally, when, like, you can't, as an enlisted soldier, you can't, like, rank into an officer. It's just through regular promotion, so it's a way to get to there.
Gotcha.
So we get Lipton's promotion or commission. Winters gets his major status at the end of the episode with his oak leaves. Also, Winters, I was about to be super pissed that they were gonna have to go on another patrol because I was like, no,
Which just
the
sounds like
episode
the.
is the last patrol.
Well, that's. Well, to me, that's also just the dumbest idea ever. Hey, remember how we successfully snuck across, pulled off this mission, and got back? We're gonna do the same shit again the next night. They'll never see it coming. Yeah, they will. It just fucking happened. You don't think they're gonna be on alert for this? Why are we doing this? Why? Because Colonel Sink gets to brag about it to his friends. So he wants to do it again, so he can brag about it again. Like, all right, cool.
Well, it
Cool.
also
It's
doesn't
good
like
to know that the colonel's just like. Apparently, the men in the company are just a poker hand to him. That if he can flop it on the table to show his friends, then he's the best one.
yeah. Well, it also just doesn't make sense because it's like, what are you gonna gain out of it? You're gonna get other POWs? Are they gonna know any more information? what else are you gonna gain from this? But Winters like takes them all into the basement as they're planning to do this mission, and it's basically just like, hey guys, you're gonna all go to bed, and you're gonna wake up, and you're gonna say that we did this mission, and you're gonna put in your papers like we did, and no one's gonna be the wiser. We didn't get anybody.
So you guys are gonna hang out here, and then after a little while, you're gonna turn off the lights off so no one knows you're in here. Then you're gonna sleep, and then tomorrow we're gonna make a report that you guys went across. Mission was unsuccessful. End of story. And then get ready. We're getting off the line. All right. Fuck yeah.
Winters is he's the man.
Also, can we take a minute to talk about just adjust my volume? Can we take a minute to talk about Nixon's beard? Not sure how I feel about it. You can tell he's a CO because his beard is well kept. You look at Malarkey and he just looks disheveled and ragged, and then you see Nixon and he's just like, "Oh, that's a nice beard. Well done, sir."
Well, that was yeah, Malarkey. When I saw him, I was like, he looks like shit. Like he's like got
This dude looks homeless.
like he looks like he has rags on him and shit too.
Oh, when he's getting ready to take the shower and like his uniform, he's taking his layers off and it's just ripped clothes all over the place. So that actually brings me to a point I wanted to discuss, which was something I thought was really well done in this episode in terms of the costume design. Their use of making like Webster and Jones their uniform perfectly pristine
Yeah,
while everyone else looks like shit. And you kind of notice it like here and there, and then once they get into the scene with the rest of the, like, they cross the guys sneaking across with the potatoes and all the other food, and then you kind of see when Webster walks into the 2nd battalion and sees all the guys, and it's like, oh, it's very obvious that you do not look like everyone else.
yeah. Like, well, and he's got his all like bundled up, and like everything is like well kept.
Well, yeah, but at first that's why, because at first you kind of see him like, you see him kind of with Spears, but you see him mostly talking to like Winters, right? Who also hasn't seen the actual battlefield in a while. So his stuff also, so you're like, oh yeah, this looks normal. But then when you see him with like the average Joes of the unit, and you're just like, oh shit, yeah, you look like you just walked out of a dry cleaner, and all these other guys look like they've been living in mud for the past 6 months.
Well, that's what they said at this point in the book. He's like, when they have that shower, they hadn't showered in like 6 or 8 weeks or something like that. So it's just like grime and filth. This podcast episode is brought to you by Audible, the leading name in audiobooks and spoken word content. And then they got more than audiobooks. They got podcasts. They got original audio content. And you can even listen to our podcast on there. And you can listen to Band of Brothers by Stephen E. Ambrose if you want. And get it for free and a 30-day free trial so you can experience everything that Audible has to offer. If you go to audibletrial.com/cocktailsandclassics, that's audibletrial.com/cocktailsandclassics. Yeah, so I've been listening to the book, and so they talk about when they go on this raid at night. They take the boats over, blow up the house, go in. They get 2 guys who are uninjured, 1 injured guy. They leave the guy on the other side, right? One of the guys takes out his pistol during the raid and is gonna shoot that injured guy. They're like, nah, don't worry about it. Like, don't give our position away for sparing this guy or whatever. So then they leave. And then the next day, they hear him moaning or whatever, and they do this. They bring this up in the episode, and so I think it's Webster and somebody else hear the guy like crying in pain.
Might be Cobb. I think it's Webster, Martin, and Cobb. I think, are the three. Because Cobb's line is my favorite. They look across, they're like, "Oh, it's the guy we left behind." And someone says, "Should I put him out of his misery?" And Cobb looks up without just nonchalantly and goes, "Fuck his misery." Turns around and walks away. And I was like, "Damn, what a baller line to just drop." Then just like, nope, and I'm out.
So they're like, all right, well, we have to take care of him. So what they do to take care of this guy is they lob grenades from their side of the bank at the dude. And they said it lands near him, goes off, and they still hear the moaning. They go again, throw it again, goes off, and they still hear the They said it took like 6 grenades to fucking take
Oh my
out
god.
the dude. I was like, is there not a more ethical way to do this than just throw grenades at this guy? I think he said it ended up being Cobb who like threw the grenade over at him and like finally took him out.
Did no one know where Shifty was? Get Shifty over here. Dude's a marksman. Let him just shoot the guy.
But I like
Jesus Christ. 6 goddamn. It's like that scene. Oh my god. When's the last time you watched Austin Powers?
I know what you're talking about. Yes.
The original where Will Ferrell gets dropped into the thing and you just hear him. I'm okay. I'm okay. The fall is not too bad. Oh no, what is this? Ah, ah. You see the flame shoot up and he goes, I don't know what that was, but there was fire everywhere. I am not dead, but I am very, very badly burned. And then it's just the next thing, one after another. And after every time he's like, I'm still here. I'm just very hurt. This poor dude is just laying there. He's like, please help me. Oh, why are they throwing grenades? Oh, God. I'm not going to lie. I think by the third one, when I saw it coming, I think I would have just at that point tried crawling to where the grenade was going to go off. Just like, please, God, let this one end it. Oh, I just can't I just can't believe that that's the response. Well, we figured we should take care of him, so we threw a grenade at him. It didn't work, so we threw another one. So we just kept going. I think all in all it took about 6.
When I was listening to the audiobook today, it just had me cracking up because I was just like, this does not seem like the way. But yeah, the original plan was like, somebody was like, oh, I'm going to sneak across and then I'll just use my knife and we'll do it like silently. And they were like, well, no, because what if the Germans use him as like bait and they have something set up? I was like, all right. But then they're also like, because they didn't want to.
I loved too, just talking about the beginning of the raid, where like 3 guys immediately flip their boat. Just like, well, they're not going. The one dude, they're trying to stealth their way across the river, and the one dude's just yelling, I can't swim! I can't
Happy
swim!
Happy birthday, Raven! I can't swim!
Like,
yeah, they did say something about that in the book too, that like, I guess they stole those boats from the Germans, and so like one of them wasn't up to snuff, and that was the one that like went into the water.
I just remembered watching that and was immediately like, oh well, these guys are super helpful. Way to go, boys. Way to be a part of the team.
They just went back to that like outpost because that was like the whole.
Yeah,
that was the whole thing. It was
the
like
covering fire area or whatever.
Yeah, they didn't want to like their building just across the river. They didn't want to like give up their location because the Germans didn't have that house like set up.
Yeah,
but it did the day after they left. Easy Company pulled out. That outpost got hit. So
I wish I had more to talk about with this one. I will say, I do know what the next episode is. So
I know something where they go to a concentration camp at some point. That's all I know.
I can't remember if we fully watched. I think we watched like maybe a clip or two from this episode when we were in high school. I don't think we watched the full episode.
You guys watched Band of Brothers in high school?
I knew it was.
Wow, you had a cool high school.
Well, one of my high school teacher's grandparents was at the camp. I think he was. I think it was like maybe in one of the special features or something. I think he's one of the people that they might have interviewed.
I really hope in the last episode that they, either at the beginning with the interviews or at the end, show us who's who in those interviews.
Yeah, I'll be honest. I was just clipping through and I realized I was looking at the stuff for Lipton and I was like, "Oh, that's which one who's talking at the beginning?" Okay, that makes sense. Like I know I recognize Winters for sure, but like some of them I'm just like, "Who are you? Which brother are you?"
Because they talk about, like, some guys will name drop other people, like, oh, this person was like, oh, Garnier and Toy. I'm like, all right, so you're neither of those guys. So who,
Yeah.
I really hope at some point it's kind of like shows them, and
So I
then
will say there was one guy that was interviewed at the beginning of this episode that I looked at and I'm like, if you are malarkey, then the casting that they had is spot on. Cuz this dude just looked like an older version of I don't know, I'm blanking on his name. Scott Grimes.
I mean,
Like,
the Garnier casting is amazing. Like, if you look at like his picture on his page, like he does that
yeah.
like same like that really like sharp jaw. Like I mean,
Yeah.
I feel
They're
like for the most part they did a pretty good job of casting dudes who like have similar facial features, which I don't know if you necessarily needed to do that. Like I don't know what it
probably not.
adds. Like the actors are good. No one in this series I've been like, wow, that guy's not a good actor. But I feel like sometimes you can kind of be like, they don't have to look that much alike. Like I feel like I'll be interested to see how it goes, but they just did the trailer for the Bob Dylan, like Timothy Chalamet
I would say though, I
biopic.
feel like Timothy Chalamet does kind of have the same facially structure a bit as Dylan. As a young Bob Dylan, I can kind of see that.
All right, well,
What did you
fuck
just
me
look
then.
up a young Bob Dylan and realize that they kind of look alike?
I was gonna say I don't think they necessarily look that
I
much
mean, I
alike,
can.
but
I look. I no one's gonna be perfect. It's, but I think he's got kind of that a similar face shape.
yeah, I could, yeah. I also think it's partially. I think it's also partially like the name too, for some of it, where it's like, yeah, we could we
Oh,
could
I mean,
we could do this guy, or we could do Timothy Chalamet.
but we'll sell a lot more tickets if it's Chalamet. Oh fuck, he's right. All right.
I did like the point, somebody's comment, and it's probably just us as people and human, like you associate and stuff. But somebody was like, I like when the actor is either like just getting a part, or like it's kind of young in their career, or they just really get lost in the role. And they were talking about like Austin Butler as Elvis, because like I had never really seen anything with Austin Butler in it before that. But like, yeah, when you go and you take Timothy Chalamet to play Bob Dylan, it's like it's gonna be hard to not see Timothy Chalamet. I'm sure like he
I mean,
has.
that's why so many superhero movies and that whenever it's like they announce a casting, people are like, "Oh my god!" And for the longest time, it was like it's not going to be some big mainstream actor. They want an unknown. They don't want you going to like. I remember when Christian Bale was cast because he not that he was unknown, but he was not like a leading man type of guy. I mean, he had done American Psycho, but I mean, for the most part, was not really like who it was a left field casting. It was like well, all the names that people were throwing out. Like, they're not casting some already big Hollywood name. They don't want you going to the movie theater and being like, "Oh my god, it's Leonardo DiCaprio." No, they want you to go to the movie theater and be like, "Oh my god, it's Batman." Like, that's, yeah. I also give props to Austin Butler, because I'll be honest, I thought his whole, like, every interview, it's felt like for even like 2 years after the movie came out, was just like, dude, you can stop with the whole Elvis thing. Like, it's enough. But did you see where he came out and said that he actually had to work with a vocal coach to lose the accent that he got?
Jeez.
Like, he worked with a vocal coach for so long to do like the Memphis Elvis accent that he literally he couldn't stop. He had to like retrain himself to not do it. And I'm like, that's fucking commitment. If you're committed that much that you literally can't lose the accent
That would be
anymore.
that would be
Fuck,
very
man.
annoying. Because he's like Australian or something too, right? Like,
Like, damn, all right. Yeah, you dug in.
Ben, anything else?
I'm looking forward to getting back into movies,
Yes,
but
very much so.
this has been very kind of a nice. This has been a welcome little 10-week excursion.
Well, it's like I miss movies because I
Some
watched a
might call
movie.
it a summer break.
I watched a movie for like the first time in a long time the other day, and I was just like, ah, this is so nice. Just watching a movie, getting lost in something. And not that Band of Brothers isn't that, but I feel like this is, and maybe listeners think the same, but it kind of is like dragged a little bit. Not that I don't look forward to watching a new episode and recording and talking about it. Like, it's awesome because this is such a good show. Like, I watch this and I'm like, damn.
Yeah, but I also get that there's no
I feel like there's no
satisfaction of like the
closure.
conclusion.
Yeah, yeah,
Yes, exactly.
yeah, yes,
Exactly. There's no real like there's no ending. You're just kind of still going, which has probably
yeah.
been ruined for us.
Well, especially when the episode ends and they're gonna go to Germany soon. And you're like, okay, cool.
Well, it's also I feel like just the aspect of like, typically you end something, the story's over, cool, very good. But one, you've got the aspect of this. Two, we've been so ruined with streaming where it's just like we can just binge it, where for this where we're like we're not watching ahead, we're not spoiling anything for ourselves, like we're just one at a time. Like, it's made it so much more difficult, whereas before it was like, oh, yeah, watch the next Band of Brothers, that's a weekend, we're done, we're good to know, we've got it. Maybe a day, if it's a really slow day. 10 hours, it's doable. I don't recommend it, but
Yeah,
it's
you can
doable.
do it in a weekend at least.
Probably not if you have a kid. Might take a little bit longer, but you know,
Oh God, he's so young. I I clicked forward on the episode guide and I saw Tom Hardy. Like, he's one of the like four photos on IMDb, and I was like, man, he just looks so young.
yeah. Well, he was what? How fucking old would he have been during that? This was
I don't know how old's Tom Hardy now. He's got to be mid to late 40s, right? It's gonna be very disappointing when I see it and he's like, oh no, 77. He's pretty old.
he's 46.
Yeah,
So yeah, you got to think back in 2001. So what is that? 23 years ago.
yeah.
He
He's
was
he's only
literally
23.
23. It's so hard now being 30 and seeing shit and being like, oh yeah, well, this person as an actor started when they, oh my god. Yeah, I didn't get my first big role though until I was in my late 20s, and I'm like, fuck, I'm already 30. Now that I'm trying to, expecting some great career to come along, but it's just like, damn. You always see these things where it's like, oh, so and so didn't become this until this age, and now I'm getting to the peak of that. And I'm like, oh shit, I have two outcomes. I'm just a nobody, or they're gonna add my name to the bottom of that fucking row. They're like, oh, Ben was 46 when he did this important thing. Ben's podcast didn't get big until he was 37.
Jesus.
Oh,
Took us 10 years, but we're here.
we're still doing it. But hey, there's hope. There's hope. Right? Right, Dylan? Please, God, tell me there's hope.
Yeah, sure, Ben. Whatever you want to hear. Imagine I said yes.
Whatever helps me sleep at night.
If you enjoyed this episode, please rate and subscribe. Tell your friends and family, share it, leave a rating. It helps us out. Watch along on HBO Max or Max. There's only 2 episodes after this one, so you got to catch up if you haven't watched it, or maybe you haven't seen it in a long time, and you want a little refresher as you're listening along. Next week, episode 9, Why We Fight. Is this the Nixon episode? I think it is. Check us out next time as we do episode 9, Why We Fight. And as always, watch responsibly.